That is a lot harder in bigger institutions because, making a decision is taking a risk. And potentially you might be wrong. But when you're in an entrepreneurial company, this is what it's about. It is about, accountability and saying, well, we made a mistake. That's fine. Then let's learn and then let's make it better.
We have a special guest from Geneva joining us today, Nicolas Syz, just appointed as CEO of the independent, family-owned Syz Bank. Many congratulations, Nicolas, on your appointment. It's very well deserved. A pleasure to have you in the studio once more. And what kind of tea have you chosen to drink today?
Well, I've chosen some green matcha, a good alternative to coffee. Gives you some focus, some clarity.
The handover from your father, Eric, who created the bank in 1996, to yourself 30 years later in Geneva. How long have you been planning this?
We are in the biggest wealth transfer currently. And this is going to last another couple of decades. And it is all about transparency and honest conversation and communication within a family business. So what we established clearly is family governance around every decision that we would take for the business has to be not based around individuals, but based around what it contributes to the clients and to the employees. So overall protecting that business. The things came together, I would say. So, but it is about planning and the discussion. And this is also what we do with many of our clients, to have those discussions.
Indeed, because we had a great piece about this by Steve Levon at SS&C. And he's saying, yes, there's a strategic opportunity here, but there's also a threat. Rather than looking at what the next generation really needs and requires. Is that something you can see across the industry?
As you say, it is clearly a risk if your business model is, well, this is what I have to sell, and I'm going to sell it to you. We are very much positioned as, being very close to the clients, and so understanding what they need, how the next generations evolves, and really tailoring that approach. And if you are willing and ready to listen, you can't have a one-size-fits-all product. It just doesn't work. So you need to have that agility to kind of, learn, listen, and then improve what you're offering so that it actually fits to what clients are going to expect from you and what they're going to require as well for the future. So it's an opportunity for those who listen.
And there's a lot of research associated with these trends. The Swiss Private Banking Identity Index, which my colleague Elisa was analysing in the last few days, they looked at 58 Swiss private banks. And I think the best one for the brand communication, they quantitatively measured it, was Pictet. What is it about the smaller and mid-sized players that make it more comfortable for you to actually communicate your values and identity with clients?
It starts with actually making sure that you do take a decision and you have ownership and accountability. And that is a lot harder in bigger institutions because, making a decision is taking a risk. And potentially you might be wrong. But when you're in an entrepreneurial company, this is what it's about. It is about, accountability and saying, well, we made a mistake. That's fine. Then let's learn and then let's make it better. And we really want to avoid as well politics. Politics in a company, are basically hinder you from progress because you don't get transparency, honesty, and trust. In an institution that has that transparency and reality, it makes things a lot easier to implement and then move forward and grow.
We spoke to Sally Tennant, who used to run Lombard Odier in the UK, and she was saying the chief investment officer's role, that's one that's changed more than most. They're now part confidant, part investment strategist, part cultural anchor.
The idea was exactly to, always ask ourselves, for whom are we producing the investment opportunities, the content, and so let's make sure that they understand what we're sharing, that they get the right information so that, it is very user-friendly. because we want them to understand why we're positioning, what's happening in the macroeconomics, what is the geopolitical risks.
Interesting that you mentioned geopolitical risk. The pronouncements by Donald Trump and his cohort in Davos. The market has been moving now according to some of these pronouncements. Is that significant evidence now that geopolitics absolutely has to be considered in portfolio allocations?
I mean, to build a portfolio, the fundamentals will remain the same. You really have to have those long-term trends, which is based on the strategic asset allocation. And those remain, stable through time. This is, a view that you take over the next 5 to potentially 10 years. And what does evolve are how you adapt your tactical asset allocation. And this is clearly a lot more influenced today through geopolitics and the decisions that are made, and that you have to adapt and that you have to look at those trends with what's happening in the power play between the US and China is going to affect, it's going to be affected by AI, it's going to be affected by defense sectors, it's going to be affected by energy. So you then have those large plays, and now you've got Greenland with, materials and commodities. So then you look at these trends, and that allows you to build pockets of opportunities and manage that risk, but always having a sort of a longer term approach to the position and the investment opportunities you're looking at.
Alternatives are now such a big part of the menu in private banking. And I remember 2008 speaking to your father about alternatives when there was the crisis and hedge funds really struggled. And your father was saying some people have been too greedy, some of our clients. They haven't really used them to diversify their portfolio. They've just focused on hedge funds to absolutely maximize returns. It's come back to bite them. Do you see a similar problem potentially developing in the private markets?
Any investment which is driven by greed is probably going down the wrong path. But what we're seeing on private equity is that there has been an increasing demand across the board in the last sort of 5 to 10 years. Markets are a lot more correlated than they used to be, equities and bonds. And so people are looking for diversification and they're looking for performance. And private equity offers, exactly that, diversification, performance, but it's illiquid. And so you have that increased demand from a lot of, consumers. It started with very sophisticated families and organized family offices. Now it's getting a lot more retail. But you have a risk now of actually, a lot of clients not understanding the complexities of these products, the lockup periods. There's a lot of evergreen. There's no really secondaries market as well. But a lot of money is in there. And so how do you diversify in terms of saying, well, how much performance can I really drive? And that's going to be niche. And what do I do if I have too much allocation? Well, you're going to obviously sacrifice performance. And so I'm not totally sure whether there is a bubble there, but there is definitely, a decline of access to that performance that clients are looking for.
It looks like you're preparing my questions for me, Nicola, because this conundrum about the asset allocation, how much do you sacrifice performance with excessive allocations? This was something we were speaking about with Adina Grigoriou, who runs a startup. I say startup, I think it's been about 10 years, active asset allocation. She's ex-BNP Paribas. And we were talking with her about algorithms and the modern portfolio theory. Personalities are also really important in the way that portfolios are managed. What do you feel about this? Should we be taking the personalities and the emotions out of asset management, or are they very much key to the results?
You can't replace everything with, let's say, AI. But in asset allocation, it is key to have a very structured and solid investment process that is rigorous and that is not dependent on emotional ideas that sidetrack you from the process of why you make an investment, why you keep it, and why you divest and reduce your exposure. And that has to remain there. But we're in a business of people. And that I strongly believe that this will stay the core of that. It is a human touch business. So you're building trust. At the end of the day, you're working with colleagues. You have to build that relationship through proximity and character and an understanding of, I'm looking into your eyes and I'm understanding how you see the macro data, how you look at the indicators. And technology is not there yet where we can just say, well, great, let's go and let's trust it, because it still has hallucinations that are still quite high. And but this is, thank God, that we still have this human touch business, and this is key. And the trust is not yet given fully to a machine from a human.
I'm glad to hear that, Nicola, because personalities such as yourself are very much what makes the world go round. Such a pleasure to have you join us in the studio. Next time, maybe we can speak about some of your hobbies, the art collection and your adventures on the ski slopes as well. But thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure.
And sadly, that's all we have time for, ladies and gentlemen. But do keep sending in your questions, as next week we'll be delving deeper into how our investment bosses research their decisions and which kind of themes they're recommending for future success, as we read the leaves at the bottom of our cups during the PWM tea break.